everybody, Klaire Fluffle here, talking about a game I really love, with a soundtrack that I'm only ranking at 16th. Sad as this makes me, I need to press on for the sake of all of you wonderful people. If you want to cheer me up, free me from this curse, if you will, not one of the canvas variety, please consider giving this video a like and ringing the notification bell after subscribing. Maybe even check out my Patreon to get some neat perks, including early access to all videos, including the Kirby soundtrack rankings. Special thanks to my head-patting Fluffle fan pup-trins, Biohazard, Furiol, Tyke, Jane, and remember, Miss K says, do your homework, Steve. I love you guys. Instead of a canvas curse, you've been afflicted with a puppy curse. Which, trust me, has a much worse soundtrack than the alternative. Kirby Canvas Curse is a DS Kirby game. Already, channel familiars know what the first thing I'm going to talk about is. Squeak Squad had more of a GBA feeling to its music, albeit with DS sound quality. Canvas Curse? That's some good DS sound font right there. Why would I have a burger when I could have some good old-fashioned DS music? I actually played Squeak Squad prior to Canvas Curse and the other DS Kirbys as well, and I thought it was really weird that Squeak Squad sounded the way that it did. Now, I was only 12 at the time. I'm a different person now, as used to say, I'm puppy. And if nothing else, I think I was really onto something. The jumps in hardware mean, or rather meant, change in sound font. It was really exciting, and while don't get me wrong, I love GBA music, the DS sound font specifically would go on to become one of my favorite gaming sound fonts, really only behind the Super Nintendo. I know DS kind of has a bunch of different sound fonts, but you know what I mean. Pokemon, Mario, Fire Emblem, Sonic, Advance Wars, even weird stuff like Nintendog, Style Savvy, Cooking Mama. That's some good DS sound font right there. With how the soundtrack rankings are going so far, you may think I don't hold Kirby's DS musical adventure bonanzas in the highest regard. But to get my negative out of the way very early for Canvas Curse, it really has nothing to do with the actual DS. In fact, if this negative didn't exist, and the music was close enough to the current quality, I think we'd genuinely be looking at my favorite DS soundtrack and an easy top 10 minimum. No joke, I love this soundtrack a lot, and I revisit it just about as regularly as the soundtracks I put in the top 10, maybe even more. But, and most people will have this issue with Canvas Curse's music, the vast majority of this soundtrack is nothing but remixes. The original tracks exist, there's at least 3, but there you go, that should speak volumes. And it's not like Super Kirby Clash where there are a good amount of original tracks, they're just buried under the remixes. No, this one's remixes. Granted, I love the remixes, and since they're different from the tracks that they're based on, I absolutely count these for the sake of the rankings. But originality is not something that you're gonna get from Canvas Curse's music, which is a real shame because everything else about the game is so unique and pioneered the DS as a platform. Looking at the games ahead, I just can't rank Canvas Curse's music much higher because there's so little in terms of what's new. That being said though, the soundtrack we got, I'm not going to be doing this much gushing probably until the top 10, so think of this video as a preview for the last days of the month where I go absolutely ballistic. I love this soundtrack to pieces. If I could, I'd inject it directly into my blood. From the very beginning, that opening music is incredible and sets the mood for the game perfectly. And the menu music, while taken from Kirby 64, always sounded like Zelda's menu music to me as a kid. When I played Kirby 64 for the first time, I couldn't believe that something so Zelda-sounding had come from Kirby. I was happy, to say the very least. And on that note, well, sure, nearly this whole soundtrack is remixes. Every track is either super catchy, super different, or used in a way that's so neat, I just can't help but smile. The Castle Dedede music from Dreamland, for example, when you're in that main room selecting a boss fight before you gotta get to Dedede, it's used as shopping music. That's such a neat idea. I've never heard any Kirby game or fan remix, whatever, do anything like it since. Thinking on Magolor's shop in the Kirby Clash games or Forgotten Lands hub area, like, come on! This is the perfect shopping music. Canvas Curse came before those games and did it great. They literally don't have an excuse. Alright, so that was a whole lot for a whole lot of nothing, so let's talk about the actual levels themselves. For one of my favorite examples of Canvas Curse remixing a track and making it entirely different, Ravine Road. On its own, heck yeah, I love this. So early on into the soundtrack, already I am associating music with this game hard. I talked about the menu music earlier, but this is the track that made me realize when I first played Canvas Curse however many years ago, this soundtrack is like nothing else I've ever heard in Kirby before. Of course, we have the that's some good DS sound font right there. But already we've had atmospheric music, upbeat music, now something slower and more relaxing. I didn't even get to the first boss, and the game was already making me feel things. But then you realize that this is a remix of Grassland 1 from Dreamland 3, which is one of the most energetic and high-energy tracks in the whole series, coming from a game with plenty of high-energy music, and your mind just explodes, boom, from the sheer brilliance of it all. Oh, and in case you're wondering, there is one other Dreamland 3 remix, I know, only one, very sad, and it's a remix of 2-5, heard in Ghost Grounds. I love that underwater level music was used for a spooky dark area, and unlike Ravine Road, nothing changed. It sounds totally different because of sound fonts and remixes and stuff, but the vibes, they're exactly the same. It's very nifty, but more importantly to me, it's really funny. Stylistically similar or not, Canvas Curse's levels have so many great remixes, it's really hard to keep track. Magmount, for instance, sounds nothing like Castle Lololo, but is 100% a remix of Castle Lololo that's used for a volcano level. What? Whereas Silver Submarine, a remix of Kind's theme, sounds exactly like what you'd expect it to. Super energetic and upbeat, even fitting for a water-themed area. And unlike Dreamland 2, it only plays in one level so you won't get tired of it. But even still, you have examples that fall somewhere in the middle. Contrast Cave, for example, is a remix of Grape Gardens from Adventure. Grape Gardens is not a fast track at all, so hearing it be sped up so much may turn you to the sounds nothing alike side, but the sounds super similar side still wins out in terms of how it makes you feel. It has this dreamlike feeling to it, just at a much faster speed. Thus, I would say, falls in the middle. Cold Chorus also sounds very similar thematically to how it did in Kirby 64, but I just love this remix so much. There's nowhere else in the script that I could really think to put it, and I wanted to make sure I devoted some time to it. I know this doesn't really make any sense. I could have fit it in somehow, I'm sure, but I'm doing this out of love. Speaking of love, another very common occurrence in these ranking videos is how much I adore when the tracks used for less important areas of the game are amazing. Remember a few years ago when I started the second video and I said the shop theme was super great? Which it still is, by the way. That's the kind of stuff that I mean. For example, the gold game music. It's nothing much, but what is blank background noise in most other Kirby games is kind of oddly hypnotic here in a way. Like, this is a short melody I can get myself lost in. It's just so soothing, at least to me. Then they go all out on the minigame music for no reason. Like, listen to how insane the identity theme is! Now, I know yesterday I just talked about Roar of Dead-a-Day. It's no Roar of Dead-a-Day. We won't be here for like 5 hours. But seriously, why does the minigame music gotta go so hard? I love it! You could say that this is actually a boss theme. That's how Canvas Curse works. But nah, it's a minigame music. It goes hard. End of story. See, this is what Canvas Curse music does. It draws you into the world of Canvas Curse, but with its super distinct art and wholly unique vibes, that the music that plays feels almost ethereal. The power of association with this game, for me, is very strong, but not for any particular moment. Well, there is one, but we'll get to that one a little later. Scoot it aside for now. But this track here... Instantly, I can tell you that's a man mechanism, but not because of anything that the level itself actually does. Well, okay, I remember these really trippy looking walls that are in the foreground and the auto-scroller at the start. I remember some stuff, but I feel like I remember being there. Or at the very least, like, I remember looking at the game and playing it like I'm looking into a painting and imagine myself being there, with the music doing most of the heavy lifting of ensuring that I could stay. Because of that, every track is distinct to me. Of course, I think they're all good, but even in cases where I technically prefer the original track, like Frozen Fantasy or Rainbow Resort from Kirby's Adventure, I still struggle to say that I preferred B to A, because B is so different and personable to me. It really is like looking at paintings. God, this game's a masterpiece. And nothing encapsulates that more than the end game, World of Dracia. I know Canvas Curse is old, but genuinely, here's a spoiler warning alongside a timestamp to skip ahead. I love this part of the game so much, I wouldn't dare spoil a thing about it without a warning. So there you go. Anyways, World of Dracia, which I guess I spoiled the name of it after I said I wouldn't spoil a thing, whatever. I wouldn't say this about a single other track in the entirety of Kirby. This one exception, though. Yeah, this track actually kind of scares me. I can just feel my anxiety settle in as that main melody starts, and all I can associate it with is those freaky paintings with those weird eyes that giggle at you, fall over, and die. It's eerie, and I'm here for all of it. How do you even follow that up, though? Well, with the best track in the game, of course. Dracia Sorceress, absolute masterpiece. One of the best boss tracks featured in any Kirby game. The beginning is so mysterious and intense, building up to... Well, that's part of the magic. You don't know. The fight itself really could go either way, and then, well, you find out. I love it so heckin' much when music layers itself like this. Listen to that melody, the one that slowly played all throughout the beginning. Now it's sped up, still looming in the background as a faster, more intense, entirely different melody takes over the forefront. Oh, and the fight's a total blast too, so there's that. My only gripe, I guess, is that the second phase of this fight, Dracia's Soul, doesn't quite have the same excellent music going for it. But holy moly, is this my second favorite track in the game. It's a total mess, not even recognizable as Dracia music, and not only does that reflect the current physical state of Dracia herself. Listen to this, it's so good and insane, I love this game so much, I love the dance music, it's so much. Let's just end it off here before I go even further off the rails. Oh, this game, you guys, this is the second game, it's so good. No other game in the series, DS or not, has a soundtrack that really hits me quite like this one does. If this was a purely personal list, I wasn't factoring in things like originality, I would rank it so much higher. I don't know if it would be my number one, but I can't say it wouldn't be either. It's just got everything that I want, and the remixes being so good only adds to it. Of course, the fact that they're remixes really doesn't bother me that much, like, at all. The fact that Nightmare and Dreamland music was thrown in as an alternative soundtrack, though, that peeves me. But hey, they're not remixed, so they wouldn't count. I love loopholes. Anyway, I can't loophole myself out of working on more videos, so let me get back to these rankings. Until I see you all again, I've been Klaire, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you around. Bye!